My favorite part in the Bible are all the places where God says He loves me.
Oh my goodness! Hi, +1! Sorry, this person's way more important. Gotta talk to them. So, it's been a minute. I do have something to share with you, if you're ready for it. I didn't know if maybe you knew what an acronym is. An acronym is where you take typically the first letter of every word and put it together. For example, a lot of you people out there use the term LOL. Now, where I come from, a different time, using acronyms in commonplace discussions is a no-no. So is using contraction words, like instead of saying do not, one would say don't. You really shouldn't speak in don't, but you notice I said shouldn't. We're all used to it. But technically in civilized conversation, one does not do that. In fact, one should not use words like should not, does not, do not. Instead of do not, you should say abstain or resist or circumvent. But, you know, we've fallen out of love with using words to illustrate visual points. Instead, it's just a way to quickly fast food our conversation. So, ew. Anyway, acronyms were really useful back in the day, like say in the military when you had to make bark a command real quick. Or for example, in technology. I was in a couple of web design classes in high school. Those were my electives. And when you're designing a web page, a lot of it is just verbatim. And so to make it quick, we would go from saying yada 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 to blip. It made it easy. Now what happens when you have an acronym in one field and that same acronym in the other field, but they mean two different things? Well then, for example, say you were a web designer and this meant something, but over here it meant something else. So when you joined with the military to help them build their website and you would use that acronym, they'd say this and you'd go, oh no, it means this. So you'd run into problems. So technically when there was overlap, you would change the acronyms. So instead of using the first letter of every word in that string of information, you would then say, you would then probably take the second letter of a word, not at the beginning and not at the end of it, but somewhere in the middle, you take the second letter of one of those words and change it, right? So if you had, for example, like LOL. Many of you know LOL is laugh out loud. However, if you're a gamer, it could mean League of Legends. So instead of LOL, which is laugh out loud, you might say LUL, because you can still say lol that way, and it would be the U in out instead of the O in out, and in League of Legends, it would be LOL still. You see what I'm saying? Of course, we don't really do that because it's not that serious, but in like professional scenarios, that's when it becomes a little serious. Because if you're a web designer designing a website for the military and you're putting an acronym in for your coding, but it also means something for the military, it might flag them and go, why are you know what I mean? So in certain instances, it's mandatory. Now, I want you to know, after you know all that, I want you to consider this, because this is the real reason I'm bringing this up. I want you to consider this. Why do you pronounce LOL, LOL? Why is it LOL? Because it's laugh, which the first letter is a L sound, out, which the first letter is an O sound, and loud, which the first letter is a L sound. So you say LOL, laugh out loud, LOL. You see, league, L, of, legends, L, LOL. now that you understand, it's not just shorthanding and then coming up with it's still phonetically important because it matters. Now, if you were doing, I don't know, giraffes in France, and that was so popular it became an acronym, what would you call it? G for the soft G, giraffes, I for in, and F for France. So it would be GIF. GIF. GIF, GIF. But what if it were something like, oh, I don't know, graphics interchanging format, which is shorthand for taking multiple pictures and putting them together to where they form a moving picture, which is how they used to do it back in the time. After ones and zeros, but before they actually could do the whole movie thing. Yeah, there was coding for that. Graphics interchanging format. That's how you would tell a website to put this moving picture there. Yeah. Graphics interchanging format. Well, that would be hard G for graphics. Interchanging or interchangeable, that would be and the format would be f. So it'd be GIF, yeah. Oh my goodness, there was a reason why some people pronounced it some way. Always wanted to share that. I have this platform, I'm sharing it. So all of you people that thought it was Jif because it was peanut butter, because of peanut butter, because of that guy who was the computer guy, I just want to remind you something. The number one, just because you're really good at computer stuff doesn't mean you're really good at language. So he may not have understood how acronyms work. But more likely the point, more likely the reality. And as a computer person, as a gamer, just a techie nerd, I just want to tell you that there's a reality out there you may not have considered. Tech people, nerds and geeks alike, they're such trolls. So I don't think he didn't understand how acronyms work. I think when you put the spotlight on him, he thought, I'm going to troll the entire planet. But as one tech geek talking to you about a tech nerd out there, that is not how an acronym works. You don't name an acronym sound after a food. Be so for real. So either he was super ignorant or he's a tech guy, and tech guys are nerds. I guarantee you when he plays video games, he's the type of person that hangs out at a spawn place. And if you don't play video games, basically what that means is a lot of video games, when you first load into a game, you don't have a lot of equipment. You have to use that game to go find the equipment and try to use your stealth and your intelligence and your charm. And maybe if you meet someone with a lot of guns and you don't have any, you squat a lot and you try to make friends. You know, it's this whole thing. And he's probably the guy that sits there at the spawn place and just kills and kills and kills. So his stats at the end of the game look fire, but everybody in the game knew he was cheating. Lame. He's probably that kind of guy because he told the world it was called Jif after the peanut butter. You notice Jiffy didn't run with commercials that say, yeah, that's our peanut butter. They also didn't sue because that's not how acronyms work. And I guess they just didn't want to look just as stupid. So now, if the word in the acronym has a certain sound that they're using for that letter, that's how you sound it out. So if it's giraffes in France with a soft G, you say G-I-F, GIF. If it's graphics, interchanging formula, or format, then you say G, so it's GIF. And don't feel bad, all you GIF users. Most of the people who said GIF, even though they were using the correct sound, didn't know why, so they still don't get the points. That's what this channel is all about. You need to understand words and how they affect you. Because you're going out there using words all willy-nilly, having no idea you're being manipulated. Okay? So, you're welcome. I understand I probably don't have the best energy for this, but it has been burning in my soul for a very long time. So, you're welcome. I had to share it. Like, what the heck, people? All you have to do is look things up. That's all you have to do. A little tiny bit of research. That's it. Just a little bit. And you'll know. And you'll be the only one in the room who knows something as pointless as what an acronym is. But in this modern day world, I mean, why are we using acronyms in our conversation all the time? In our texting? It's just straight lazy. Back in the day, I wasn't allowed a cell phone when everybody had them when I was in high school. But the reason they were using acronyms so heavily in conversation was because back in the day, you were charged for every letter you texted. Legit. One has to wonder why they're not charging anymore. I think it has to do with surveillance, but that's a whole other thing. But yes, you're not being charged for every letter now. You can literally speak poetically. You're allowed to again. But it sounds like the world is being dumbed down and a lot of language is being erased. I saw this one video and this girl was learning another language and she said, oh my goodness, you know, because she originally speaks English and she's from America, and she said, I didn't realize how negative English was. She says that the intention of the English language has changed and it now attributes everything to you. For example, she said that when you, in English, when you want to mention that you're angry, you say, I am angry, which means that you become that. It's you, and it's hard to let it go. Versus in other languages, many other languages, it's anger's passing through me, or I feel angry, but I'll get over it, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And in English, it's almost like it forces you into a negative aspect. It tries to glue you into that negative aspect. So it's a very interesting perspective. So I just want you to be careful. I want you to use words that you mean. I mean, if you sit there and say, I love you, sexually, romantically, brotherly, or the kind of love that is the best kind of love, which means you see your enemy struggling and you go to help them, not because you feel they deserve it, but because there's true love in your heart and you want to help people. Which is it? Right? There's so many words. And then on top of that, you could sit there and say, I love you. Or you could sit there and say, I adore you. Or you could sit there and say, I would do anything for you. Or you could start using bigger words and vocabulary. I'm telling you, people are dumbing down. How many words do cows know? Cows get branded. How many words do dogs know? Dogs are on leashes. Do you want a branding? Do you want a leash? Or do you want to know what's going on? Get educated, my friend. My whole life I was considered snobby because I had a vocabulary. I learned to dumb it down for people. Not because people are dumb, but because it's easier for them to behave dumb. Don't be those people. You know? Just pay attention. Understand that words are important and how you string them together are important. You could be so poetic. You could be wowing the socks off people. Not even people who you're trying to get in bed with. Just you could make your life and everyone else's life so much better with a broader vernacular. But you want to text me and say, lol. Puke! My best friends do that. It's okay. I'm not judging and I'm not being harsh. I'm just putting a perspective out there. I'm hoping will trigger some of you into being like, yeah, why do we do that? There are places in Africa, I forget who they're called, but they literally speak amazing. Like, somebody said that their husband from this part of Africa, I forget where they're, Nigerian, I think, and he tripped on the sand on a beach. And it's just like, ow, that sand tripped me, like an American would or something. They instead said, The beach today has declared its choice to be my enemy, and it has tried to dethrone me as the king of my own life. But I did not perish. I walk away bruised and embarrassed, but a victor. Like, comical and such imagery. Strive for that. The world would be so much better if we were painting pictures instead of just saying, I want a hot dog with some stuff on it. Instead, you could sit there and say, I would love it if you would take my dog and put it on the grill, and take the bun and open it and put it on the grill. And then you take that hot dog and you spit it right there in the middle, where it's crispy on the outside, soft inside, and warm all the way through to just give me the sensation of comfort all the way down. But before I eat it, could you please put in your homemade, luscious, yet slightly spicy chili, beans and meat. I don't personally eat meat, but when you see where I'm going here, sprinkle a bunch of cheese on, the strong kind, the extra cheddar, so it's really got that kick. And then throw on some of your fresh cut white tomatoes. I meant to say white onions. But you see what I'm saying? Suddenly you have this hot dog that is just like, ah! And it's singing, it smells great, it sounds great, it tastes amazing. They got to make something beautiful. You got to enjoy something beautiful. Or you could just go get cheap hot dog and some hot dog water, take it out, put it in a bun and eat it in front of TV. Which sounds better? Your speech could be just as exciting. Just saying, you know, everyone wants to get famous. Everyone wants to be interesting. How's your speech etiquette? If you're a prince, if you're a princess, you are created by God. Act like it. Okay, it's GIF, not GIF. Love you.